Hi, I'm Hazel. It's Saturday again today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I've been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week was the second week of patch 9.1, and this is the week that things really got kicked off. This week had the launch of Tazavesh, it had the new raid, it had flying, it was a big week. There was a lot of new stuff in WoW this week, so I want to kind of round up my first impressions of the major points. The first one being the new raid. This launched this week. I got to raid with my guild. We are now, after our first week of raids, 8 of 10 normal and then 2 of 10 heroic. And my main takeaway and memory that is burned onto my brain is that they really call Painsmith that for a reason. A lot of people were talking about this. It seems to have been a pretty universal experience that there's kind of like a nice, smooth difficulty curve in Sanctum and Domination until you hit Painsmith, and then it just shoots to the moon with like a really just tough and tightly tuned fight. The mechanics themselves were, difficult, but I feel like my raid did pretty well at figuring out what to do and executing them, but then it was the first fight, in normal at least, that had, like a big phase of progression after we'd already figured the fight out, just getting it tight enough to like hit the healing checks and stuff. We did kill it on normal. That was certainly the longest lived boss. I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 pulls. But we did kill it on normal. We made it all the way to Rogue Hollow and then did the first 2 bosses on heroic. I had a lot of fun. I think that Terragru in particular is a really fun first boss because it's going to be a little different every time as you get to choose which powers that you want. It's not going to be wildly different. And because it's the first boss, I don't think that not getting your perfect power is really going to make or break you for the rest of your raid night. But it's a cool encounter and it really lets me and my Mass Dispel feel valuable. This week was also the launch of the new 8-boss mega dungeon Tazavesh, and the very first night we went in there and we did the hard mode all the way through, and that was just a journey. that was an event. We were in there for somewhere between 2 and 3 hours, and most of us had actually seen the fights already in testing, so we had some experience going into it, but still, hard mode was hard. Shocking, I know, but it was tough. I did record it. I will have a video looking at hard mode Tazavesh coming up, both how to unlock it and what the fights get. Wowhead has a write-up already if you're just looking for the info, but it was really fun. I would say the toughest fights of Tazavesh hard mode were the first one, at least for me. I could not find my weapon when it got yoinked for me in all of the visual clutter. And then the last fight was quite tough as well. And then Mailroom Mayhem was just bugged. The way that we managed to get around that eventually was just by zerging it, popping everything, lust, potions, flasks, runes, pep talks, just everything to kill Mailroom Mayhem before any of the packages exploded. Just not even soaking the purple puddles or anything, just damage to kill him before the packages explode because they were just super bugged and were not about to make it into their package portals. For finishing hard mode Tazavesh, I discovered that you get a mount. There's the gear glider, and this thing has a mounting animation when you first get onto this thing that blew my mind when I saw it for the first time. For a small mount, it's pretty flashy, and it's one of those ones that I really like that's really compact and looks good flying as well as on the ground. So I'm going to be riding that around for a while because I think that's the first impressive, requiring some amount of effort 9.1 mount that I got, because aside from that, it's just the mount that you get with flying and then nothing else, because I have not finished any mount farms yet. I've been taking Korthia kind of on a day-by-day basis, and I don't always do everything. And then the third magical highlight of my week was finally unlocking flying, and I keep forgetting that I have it. I know this is not just me. We've just spent too long running around on the ground in Shadowlands zones, but around my Covenant Hall particularly, or Elysian Hold anyways. I don't think you can mount in the other 3. I know you can't mount in the other 3. Kyrian is the best for that. But in the Kyrian Covenant Hall, I keep running up the stairs and around on the ground, and then I accidentally press my spacebar and I float into the air, and then I realize that I could be flying around here. It is so nice to be flying around and looting treasures and checking for rares, and excuse you. I've been having a delightful time, and I'm not even a gatherer. I've heard that herbalists and resource gathering has been just a good week. Can I help you? For news this week, we did get some hotfixes. The one that I am most jazzed about is Korthia treasures now last longer, so It's not that it'll never disappear when you're about to loot it, but it's not going to be as often as it was for the first couple of days. They also hotfixed the cataloged research cap up to 22,000 from 11,000. They doubled that one, which is nice because I wasn't really spending much of it, and I would hate to hit cap, so that's good. There was a blue post this week talking about an upcoming change and kind of a clarification on the Melee the Wanderer mount. If you're new to this one, there is a purple horse that you can find around Korthia, and after you've found it on, 5 different days, you'll get the mount. They've clarified that she is not intended to be available every day, but with an upcoming hotfix, she's going to be up more often, and then Tiny Bell will stop bothering you when she is not up. So that's good to know, at least. I know there was a lot of concerns about it being bugged or still at the base, and at least now we know how it works. And those things kind of took up most of my week. I still have not gotten into the new PvP season, and I want to. I have not done any new Mythic Plus season stuff, and I want to do that too. I want to start working on my Mythic Plus score. I'm quite glad that Korthia dailies are fast, because it feels like if you just do the Korthia, like the Shaping Fate weekly, and then dailies every day, which you can do in like 15-20 minutes if you're fast, that keeps you on top of like the bulk of the Korthia reputation stuff. That's good, because I need the rest of the time for all of the other stuff that there is to do. You can say a lot of things about Shadowlands, but you can't say there's nothing to do. You can say you don't like it, but you can't say there's nothing to do. I am busy. And questions for this week. Lucas wants to know, I saw that you hit a button to autocomplete all of your missions on the Shadowlands mission table. What add-on is that? I must have it. Thank you. I use Venture Plan. I also use Covenant Mission Helper. I run both of them, but Venture Plan is the add-on that is specifically doing that. I will link it in the description. It is very good and I like it very much. And Shane wants to know, curious if you have any advice for someone who wants to start healing. I started leveling a Holy Paladin through dungeons. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm worried about jumping into endgame dungeons and letting people down. So, the first thing to say is that you are so far from alone. I hear this a lot. There's a lot of people that like really like the look of healing and find it really fun, but they're a bit intimidated towards getting into it. What I would say, couple of things. First of all, at endgame, I would just start small. I would start easy with like normal dungeons. Those are going to be basically the same thing you've been doing while leveling. Like random normals and random heroics are going to be pretty low pressure. And if people are dying in those, I can almost guarantee you it's not your fault as long as you're using some buttons. So just kind of like stay where you're comfortable until you're feeling a little bit more confident and like you've got the hang of it. Not that you don't have the hang of it, but I know for me, when I started feeling more comfortable with healing was when I had spent enough time doing it to have a pretty good idea of when someone's death was their own fault. Because it's pretty common for new healers to kind of every time someone dies or takes a lot of damage to worry a lot that they're not doing well enough. And, you know, if you're not pressing any buttons, then that might be true. But often people stand in things and they get hit by mechanics, and that's fine, but it's also not your fault. You can fix it if you can, but sometimes people are going to die and there's nothing you can do about it. Once you've kind of spent enough time in there to get a read on how much of a disaster you had control over or not, so accepting the things that you cannot change is part of it. I would also say make sure that you are really comfortable with your UI and that it is showing you the stuff that you really need to know without overwhelming you with things that aren't as important. For a new healer, I would say make sure that you like your raid frames, make sure that you can see dispellable debuffs on those raid frames with like a reasonably sized icon. And then I also really like healing with friendly health nameplates like over people's characters, so I can kind of pick and choose where I want to aim my AoE heals. As opposed to just hitting a big group of players, it's nice to know where the big group of players in pain is. If you have not already set it up, I would highly recommend mouse over healing. It's not advanced, it's not difficult, but it is a lot smoother overall. People do that very well with add-ons. I like to use macros, and there's a section in my macro video that talks specifically about how to use mouse over healing macros, so I will timestamp that and link it in the description for you. But I would recommend mouse over healing to anybody healing dungeons or raids. It makes it much easier to kind of fluidly heal different people without worrying about changing your target all the time. So that's good and I recommend it. And I think that has been my week. I must be forgetting something. The new patch has kind of fried my brain. They do that. If you have any questions you would like me to answer in a news video, please leave them in the comments of the most recent one. Include the word question. Cheers, guys. Stop by a stream if you want and have a wonderful, wonderful day.